Hello devs, Sid the IT guy here, and as you can see I've got a proper mic now, so this should resolve all the audio issues that you guys have let me know about in my previous videos. So let's push this a little aside and let's discuss what we are building in today's video. So today's video is about Shopify's Checkout UI Extensions. Now what these are is, by the name it explains itself, that it is a way for developers to extend the checkout pages functionality. Now for an example, if I show you this image, then this is a standard Shopify checkout page, which is a three-step checkout process. So if I zoom in a little bit, we can see a banner here that says, due to overwhelming demand, orders will take an additional 1-2 business days to ship from our warehouse. Now this is a rendered box in which we can put our own banners and we can customize the functionality for it to behave however we want. So the functionality that the checkout UI extensions provide is, let's say that there are 2 items here, so we can display a third item in it and we can have an add button. So if somebody clicks add, then that item gets added to the checkout page then and there itself. So it is a way for upselling products in a cart. Other than that, there are additional things that we can do with checkout UI extensions, one of which is making sure that the person who is placing the order is above 18 years old or 16 years old, or we can customize that. And we can also validate the shipping address the person provides. For example, we can take the country region, and based on that we can determine if the store will send their order to that country. So it can basically maintain a list of unsupported countries, and we can show the message then and there itself. So these are some use cases of checkout UI extensions, and the first thing that we have to understand about checkout UI extension is the type of banners that we can show. One is static and other is dynamic. Now where the difference lies is on this page. If this is defined as a dynamic dynamic extension, then the store merchant can decide where they want to show it. So in this case, it is shown before the contact information, but this can be customized to show between the contact information and shipping address, or after the shipping address, or maybe on the right side anywhere. Let's say in front of discount code we can show the banner. So the dynamic elements are customizable, and Shopify also provides static extension points, which mean that they are defined by Shopify itself where it will render. So if this was defined as a static extension point, then you cannot move this from here. And other ways static extension points work is, there is a related with shipping address, that it will only render after the shipping address box, and yeah, things like that. So we will get into this. So so this is an example of dynamic checkout render, where this string right here inside the render function tells us that we want to use a dynamic extension point, and we can learn more about that here. So static extension points are basically in this red marker. These are defined by Shopify, we cannot move them, and dynamic ones obviously we can. And one thing that we need to discuss is the one-page checkout, which is currently in dev preview by Shopify. So this is an amazing feature that they have released, where we can just have one page and it will say the cart items, the payment information, the shipping information, the shipping method, and pay method. So we can have that all in just one smooth page, smooth transition, Cool. So there is a UI component library that we have to understand before we dive into the checkout UI extension. So in the documentation, you will see that there are React.js examples and there are plain JavaScript examples. I'm going to be discussing plain JavaScript because it is easier. If you are a React developer, then basically this is the code that you have to write. But anyway, so here we can define the extend function, which will create a component of dynamic type, because we have mentioned dynamic here. And so when the extend function is called, and the second parameter, we can define how we want it to be displayed. So here is the root create component function, which takes an inline stack, an empty array, empty object, then an array inside which we can define an image, a block stack containing large text and small text, and a button. So here's how it's used. So create component is used for image, and that image has a second parameter where we can define the source. Then the component block stack is another parent type of component which can have another component for text, which is size large, and heading. The third parameter is the text you want to show. Then another one is size small with description, and the button can be defined like this: create component, the first is button, and it accepts a second parameter as an object where we can define the on press key event. So it will just console log a button was pressed. So this is how it will look like. We can further customize this to look the way the store merchant needs it to. We can match the store's theme to make it look like a little better. Yeah, so that is what the UI components is. There is a full-on component library that we can look into, and there's also a Figma UI kit that we can look into, but we will do that later. So on the security bit, we need to understand that this is an isolated sandbox. So which means that the outer border, whatever is in here, only has access to elements in that. It doesn't have access to outside elements, let's say the cart elements, or run custom scripts from the checkout extension itself. So it only has the set of APIs, the access to set of APIs defined by Shopify, and nothing more than that. And there is a protected customer data access that we may need, in which case we have to submit an application, and Shopify will review that and we can get that. So then it also says that we cannot override the CSS for UI component, which is an amazing thing. It will always match the merchant's own branding as shown in the image. Yeah, that's awesome. And now we are ready to start developing a checkout UI extension, and let's see how that turns out. So first thing I'm going to do is partners login. So this is the first thing you want to do: log in into your partners account and go in stores and create a new development store. And right here, create a store to test and build. Click developer preview and click checkout extensibility. Now the store name and store URL you can figure out yourself. It must be unique to Shopify. Then select start with test data. So Shopify will give you some snowboarding information, snowboarding related products, and 10 orders to start with. So that's how you can create a development store. And for me, I have already created a store which is checkout extensions. You can see the development store with checkout extensibility preview is enabled. So let me just log into that. Cool. So now that we have both these things, so now we can start developing. So I will open up Laragon. Now I use Laragon. If you have XAMPP, or if you work with a Node.js package manager, anything that can work. So that's all right. So we are in our htdocs folder, or Laragon has www folder. So we will go here. We will copy this thing, paste it. I think it takes some time. So it will ask what is the project name. So we can say demo checkout UI. We will select Node here, but it also provides options for Node, PHP, and Ruby. And I will explore PHP in a later video. So if you are watching at this point, please make sure that you are subscribed to catch that. So we will select Node. It will install the dependencies. Okay, while the dependencies are getting installed, I need to talk about the tom.l file that Shopify extensions provide. So in this example right here, if we are extending the checkout dynamic render, then it has to be specified in the extension points index of the Shopify UI extension tom.l file. If you miss that from here, then your checkout extension will not render at all. And this goes to other extension points as well. So let me click here. So these ones. So JavaScript, let's select that. Okay, so here are checkout actions render before, then we have checkout delivery address render before, then we have checkout shipping methods render after, and at the last we have checkout render dynamic. So all four of these has to be provided in your toml file, otherwise it just would not render. You will be scratching your head the same way I was when I was testing it out. Anyway, let's check out if it has finished. So it has. So we will cd into it and we will just run npm run generate extension. Run this command. So this will generate a new extension and it will ask you some questions like what type of extension do you want to start with. So now it is asking create a new app or connect it to an existing app. We will create a new app at this point because it will be easier for you to get started with. I will connect it to the public app that I was building and make that a separate video where I will just lay out the steps on how you can connect your extension with an existing app. So we will create a new app name we can call demo checkout UI. It will get created on our partners account. So here it is asking what type of extension do we want. So here we will say checkout UI. Now there are so many functions that Shopify provides, which are called Shopify functions, where we can do cart and checkout validation, cart transformer, delivery customization, fulfillment constraints. There are so many different things we can do with this. But for this video, we will choose checkout UI. So extension name internal only. So we will say checkout demo UI. Now what type of template do we want? I'm going to select JavaScript. You can also select TypeScript if you're into that. You can also select TypeScript React and JavaScript React, but we will choose vanilla JS. So it will install the dependencies and create a boilerplate code for us. Cool. So it is generated. So let's do. All right. So we have got some files here. So this is the front end for the app that we will see in our store when we install it. And this is the extensions folder which has the checkout demo UI which we just created. It has an src folder and it has index.js. Now in this one we can remove this my current demo extension and we can remove that. So for the banner one, the third parameter is actually this is a text we want to show. Yeah, so we will just do this much and let's run this one and let's see what happens. So we will run npm run dev. Now given that we are already logged in into our partners account, so it will detect that automatically. And we will choose sid checkout extensions. This is the store that we want to run our app in. So we will select that and just select always by default. So it will generate a boilerplate code from Cloudflare. Anyway, we don't need to know much about that. So when this is ready, so then we can just go into a browser once, go into your terminal, hit P. So it will open up a new tab, which is a UI extensions dev console. We can click app home first. So it will install the app on the store for us. Click install, done. It is super easy to do. Now go back into the dev console and click on checkout UI extension. All right, now we have our checkout page displayed here, which is a 3-step checkout page. And here we have the current demo extension. And this is the text we want to show, same as how we did it here. Okay, so now that we have a simple checkout extension running and it also is real time. So if I save here, then it will automatically reload and show it here. So you are free to do your changes and it will reflect straight away. Okay, in our second example, we have created a checkout extension which will upsell a product from the store, and it will display it here where we can click on the add button and it will add it to the cart item right here. So let's click add and it added it, and now the new total is 1871. So how did we do this? It is actually a tutorial provided by Shopify right here, and this is where I meant the toml file that really needs to be configured before you do anything. So here the src index.js, basically I copied all the code and pasted it, and in the toml file I copied these two lines and I put it here in the toml file. If I remove this, then the extension would not work. You can check it out on your end. And in the index.js, there's actually quite a bunch of code here. So we can see that there is a GraphQL API going on. I love GraphQL of Shopify. So it is just taking the first item and it is returning that. So that's all that's happening. So probably we can write our own logic to call our Laravel backend to get a recommended product based on the cart lines that we have. So here we can see that the extended is checkout dynamic render, which means it can be rendered here or anywhere we want. So if I click it one more time, let's see what happens. Oh, it says there was an issue. Okay. Okay, cool. Anyway, maybe there's a problem with Shopify's documentation here. I'll check into that later. But anyway, this is a good example where we can learn about the code, how it is acting. So here we can see the GraphQL API that is run and the nodes is returned. Render app is called right here. The lines is subscribed with an element of render app, which means the real-time changes. So there is a component that is created, block stack, with spacing loose, and components are created in it like divider, heading, which says you might also like the recommended product. If I save it, then how many places you might also like this here? 2 places. You might also like this recommended product. Yeah, so it refreshed and now we have it here. Okay, so I think this is pretty neat. There is quite a bunch of code here. We need to tinker around to see how it behaves and how we can get the existing line items, and yeah, that's how it will work. So I'm wrapping this video here. Let's in our next video, let's try to grab what is in the current cart and make it a little dynamic, make it a little, like call a third-party API endpoint and get the information from there, and then recommend products based on what's already in the cart. So make sure to be subscribed and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.